Have you ever wondered what the story of the 10 plagues of Egypt would look like if it happened today? Imagine this ancient, powerful story unfolding not in the distant past, but right now in our modern world. It's a story of struggle, faith, and liberation that still speaks to us thousands of years later. Hi and welcome to my channel. Faith is our light. My name is Teresa. I share Bible stories, prayers, inspirations, and motivational quotes to get you closer to God. Today's retelling of the Bible story is the 10 Plagues of Egypt. As I tell you this story, think about one question you want to ask Moses if he was standing in front of you today. Think about that. I will ask it again later. Let's return back to the story. Let's journey back together. The book of Exodus, starting around chapter 7, tells us about the Israelites who were enslaved in Egypt. God heard their cries for freedom and sent a man named Moses to confront the most powerful ruler of that time, Pharaoh. Moses' message was simple and direct: "Let my people go." But Pharaoh's heart was hardened. He refused. So, a series of 10 plagues, 10 powerful demonstrations of divine intervention, began to fall upon the land of Egypt. Each one was a direct challenge to the gods of Egypt and a clear message to Pharaoh. The first plague, as described in Exodus chapter 7, verse 20, turned the water of the Nile River into blood. Imagine turning on your tap today and seeing red. All the fish died. The water became undrinkable. It was a crisis of unimaginable scale, targeting the very source of Egypt's life. Pharaoh, however, remained stubborn. His magicians could replicate some of these signs on a smaller scale, which only hardened his resolve. So, the second plague arrived: frogs. Exodus chapter 8 tells us they came up from the river and were everywhere, in their homes, in their beds, even in their ovens. An overwhelming, inescapable nuisance. Pharaoh promised to let the people go if Moses would just take the frogs away. But as soon as they were gone, he went back on his word. This pattern of a hardened heart, a brief moment of surrender, and a broken promise would repeat itself again and again. Next came the third plague, gnats, or lice, covering people and animals. Then, the fourth plague, swarms of flies, so thick they filled the houses of the Egyptians. But interestingly, the land of Goshen, where the Israelites lived, was untouched. This was a clear sign that these events were not random, but specifically targeted. Still, Pharaoh's heart was like stone. The fifth plague struck the livestock of Egypt. Their horses, donkeys, camels, cattle, and sheep fell ill and died. But again, not a single animal belonging to the Israelites was harmed. The distinction was becoming clearer with each plague. The sixth plague was painful and personal: boils. These sores broke out on the Egyptians and their animals. It was a physical affliction that even Pharaoh's magicians couldn't stand before. Their tricks and illusions were powerless against this. The seventh plague escalated dramatically. Exodus chapter 9 describes a devastating hailstorm, unlike anything Egypt had ever seen. Hail mixed with fire rained down from the sky, destroying crops and everything left in the fields. Yet again, in the land of Goshen, there was no hail. Before this plague, God even gave a warning, allowing those who feared his word to bring their servants and livestock indoors to safety. It was a chance, an act of mercy even in judgment, but Pharaoh persisted. So the eighth plague came: locusts. An immense swarm that covered the face of the land, eating everything the hail had left behind. The once green and prosperous land of Egypt was now barren and desolate. Pharaoh's own officials begged him, "Do you not yet realize that Egypt is ruined?" The ninth plague was a terrifying supernatural darkness. For 3 days, a thick darkness covered Egypt, so dense that people couldn't see each other or even move from their places. But in the homes of the Israelites, there was light. It was a palpable, heavy darkness, a stark symbol of the spiritual darkness of a nation that refused to listen. Even after 9 plagues, 9 overwhelming demonstrations of power, Pharaoh refused to fully relent. This led to the final, most heart-wrenching plague. The 10th plague, described in Exodus chapter 12, was the death of the firstborn. Every firstborn son in Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh on his throne to the firstborn of the prisoner in the dungeon, and even the firstborn of the livestock, would pass away at midnight. But God provided a way of escape for his people. He instructed the Israelites to take a lamb, a perfect lamb without blemish, and to paint its blood on the doorposts of their homes. This act of faith, this sign of the blood, was their protection. When the angel of death passed through Egypt that night, it would pass over the houses marked with blood. This event is why the Jewish people celebrate Passover to this day. That night, a great cry rose up in Egypt, for there was not a house where someone was not dead. This final, devastating blow finally broke Pharaoh's resistance. He summoned Moses and Aaron in the middle of the night and urged them to leave, to take their people, their herds, everything, and go. And so, after 430 years of bondage, the Israelites walked out of Egypt as a free people. It's a powerful story of deliverance. But what does it mean for us today? This story isn't just ancient history. It has a timeless testament to God's power and his deep desire for his people to be free, not just from physical chains, but from everything that enslaves us. The plagues show us that God will go to great lengths to get our attention when we stray from his path or when injustice prevails. The hardening of Pharaoh's heart is a cautionary tale. It shows how pride and stubbornness can lead us down a path of destruction, blinding us to the truth that is right in front of us. How often do we ignore the signs, the little nudges, and the big warnings in our own lives? And most importantly, the Passover lamb points to a greater truth. For Christians, this is a beautiful foreshadowing of Jesus. The New Testament, in 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7, calls Christ our Passover lamb. Just as the blood of the lamb saved the Israelites from physical death, the sacrifice of Jesus offers us salvation from spiritual death and freedom from the bondage of sin. It's a message of hope, redemption, and ultimate freedom available to everyone. God's message through this incredible story is clear. He hears the cries of the oppressed. He is a God of justice and liberation. He is powerful enough to overcome any obstacle, any pharaoh in our lives. And he provides a way of salvation for all who will trust in him. The story of the Exodus is a reminder that no matter how dark the situation seems, no matter how powerful the forces against us may be, God's power is greater. He is a God who makes a way where there is no way. So, as we reflect on this, I want to leave you with a question. Think about the incredible courage and faith of Moses. If he were standing right here in front of you today, what one question would you ask him? Share your question in the comment below. I know one question I would ask Moses. If he was standing in front of me today, I would ask, were you scared that maybe you couldn't keep your promise to God? Thank you for joining me on this journey through one of the most powerful stories ever told. I hope it has given you something to think about. If you found this meaningful, please consider subscribing for more stories like this. See you on the next video.